Hello, welcome back to the Police Report, the channel we share everything about crime stories and forensic science cases. As we know, nowadays police solve many crime cases by using DNA pairing. Do you know what is the first crime case solved by using DNA genetic profiling, fingerprinting evidence? Before continuing the video, please don't forget to give a like and subscribe our channel. Today, our main character is Connick Pitchfork. Born in 23 March 1960, he is a British convicted murderer and rapist. He was the first person convicted of murder based on DNA fingerprinting evidence, and the first one to be caught as a result of mass DNA screening in the world. Pitchfork raped and murdered two girls in neighbouring Leicestershire villages. The first young lady was in Narborough in November 1983, and the second was in Aderby. In July 1986, he was arrested on 19 September 1987 and sentenced to life imprisonment on 22 January 1988 after admitting both murders. Pitchfork lived in a newborn Verdon, attending school in Market Bosworth and Dansford, until his marriage in 1981 to a social worker, after which he lived in a Little Thorpe and he had two sons. Before his marriage, Pitchfork had been convicted of indecent exposure and had been referred to a therapy at Carlton Hayes Psychiatrist Hospital. Pitchfork had obtained work in Hampshire bakeries in 1976 as an apprentice. He continued to work there until his arrest for the murders. He became particularly skilled as a sculptor of cake decorations and had hoped eventually to start his own cake decoration business. According to his supervisors, he was a good worker and timekeeper, but he was moody and he couldn't leave women employees alone. He was always chatting them up. On 21 November 1983, 50-year-old Linda Main took a shortcut on her way home from babysitting instead of taking her normal road home. She did not return, and so her parents and neighbors spent the night searching for her. The next morning, she was found raped and strangled on the deserted footpath. Using forensic science techniques available at that time, police linked semen sample taken from her body to a person with type A blood, an enzyme profile that matched only 10% of males. With no other leads or evidence, the case was left open. On 31 July 1986, a second 15-year-old girl, Dawn Ashworth, left her home to visit a friend's house. Her parents expected her to come home at 9:30 p.m. When she failed to do so, they called police to report her missing. 2 days later, her body was found in a wooded area near a footpath called 10-Pound Lane. She had been beaten, savagely raped, and strangled to death. The way she was killed matched that of the first attack, and semen samples revealed the same blood type. The prime suspect was Richard Buckland, a local 17-year-old young man with learning difficulties, who revealed knowledge of Ashworth's body and admitted to the Ashworth crime under questioning, but denied the first murder. In 1985, Alec Jeffries, a genetics researcher at the University of Leicester, first developed DNA profiling along with forensic science service. He was responsible for developing all of the DNA extraction techniques and demonstrating that it was possible after all to obtain DNA profiles from old stains. The biggest achievement was developing the preferential extraction method to separate sperm from vaginal cells. Without this method, it would have been difficult to use DNA in rape cases. Using this technique, Jeffries compared semen sample from both murder victims against a blood sample from Buckland, and conclusively proved that both girls were killed by the same man, but not Buckland. It was so shocked for everyone in the police. Buckland became the first person to have his innocence established by DNA fingerprinting. Why did he confess to a crime he didn't commit? It's because the pressure getting really hard on him. He would confess rather than claim he was innocent. He even couldn't account for his movements. On the particular day afternoon, he couldn't discover the dead body himself. He wasn't able to give a very detailed description of her clothing, what position the dead body laid. Leicestershire Constabulary and the FFS, Forensic Science Service, then undertook an investigation in which more than 5,500 local men were asking to volunteer blood and saliva samples. This took 6 months. Unfortunately, no matches were found. On 1st August 1987, one of Pitchfork's colleagues at the bakery, Ian Kelly, revealed to fellow workers in a pub that he had taken the blood test while masquerading as Pitchfork. Pitchfork told Kelly that he could not give blood under his own name because he had already given blood while pretending to be a friend of his who had wanted to avoid being arrested by police because of a youthful conviction for burglary. A woman who overheard the conversation reported it to the police. Since police required identification before taking the blood sample, Kelly needed some photographic proof. His was Conic Pitchfork. They both went down to a photo booth and took a passport-sized photo of Ian Kelly. Pitchfork took his own passport, slipped the plastic casing with a razor blade, and neatly inserted Kelly's photo in its place. The police failed observed that a photograph had been substituted for the original one, and therefore they believed that this was Conic Pitchfork. Ian Kelly then took the blood test for Conic Pitchfork. On 19 September 1987, Pitchfork was arrested. During subsequent questioning, Pitchfork admitted to exposing himself to more than 1,000 women, a compulsion that began in his early teens. He later progressed to the sexual assault and then to strangling his victim in order to protect his identity. He pleaded guilty to the 2 rapes and murders in addition to another incident of sexual assault, and was sentenced to life imprisonment. The Lord Chief Justice at the time of his sentencing said, "From the point of view of the safety of the public, I doubt if he should ever be released." The Secretary of State set a minimum term of 30 years. In 2009, Pitchfork's sentence was reduced on appeal to 28 years.